Hello, my name's Niranjan, the host of Master of Your Crafts podcast. Learning from leaders who are continuously inspired, passionate, and driven to align with their soul purpose, sharing their gifts to bring healing to others. The music is composed by Rebecca Everett. Today is episode number 55, and I'll be talking to Della, a self-taught artist who started painting in 2003. The human condition, the galaxy, and the environmental consciousness play a key role in the message Della is trying to convey. The artist first appeared in the San Francisco art scene in 2012. Since then, he's been relentless in his pursuit to becoming a better painter while promoting and marketing his work. He lives in Boulder, Colorado, and Puerto Rico. So hello and welcome to Della. How are you, Della?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited and I am very, very intrigued on your big, long path and journey to producing the beautiful art that you create, because I came across it through a friend of a friend and was intrigued and awed of the beauty that you create, and it looks and feels like it comes with such ease and grace. How did you get there?
When you say ease and grace, I haven't heard that, but that's pretty much it. When you're in love with what you're creating, it's easy and it's graceful. I am always trying to tap into that, into the love for my craft, because when you're just pushing it, you see the works years or months or days after, and it doesn't feel like the time when you were young or the first paintings that you made, that you were just flowing, and you were in so much love to just make it. So I come from that, from that like little kid, 4 or 5 years old, just sitting there in his notepad, drawing superheroes or whatever, and just that love of what the arts are. It's like this, it's almost like this entity that's always there for you. I've always called her my best friend, kind of thing.
Yes.
So it's been a connection to it since very, very young. I don't necessarily know if I didn't have a negative childhood, but I would rather just doodle, all day long with my cousin, my family member, and just those are my first kind of like images of my life. It's just me and him sitting there with crayons and pencils and pens. So I guess I could say I come from that, and I'm still looking to lock in on that love for creation, and just being complete, coming from a place of love, and then everything's easy and graceful after that.
Beautiful. But it takes time to get there, right? And I know you have been on this path for 15, 16 years at least in a professional manner. Before that, there would definitely a huge preamble that might have taken place. But during those 15 and 16 years of being in this path of being in love with doodling and creating and tapping into that space, what do you believe about yourself in this process? And do you feel it defines who you are?
15 years is a long time, that's a whole career right there. Before the 15 years, I was developing a style, so I always kind of knew that I needed a style and I needed something different, as far as when people look at the piece and they're like, well, that's a piece by Della. I always wanted that, so I would constantly try new things and different mediums to get there. But yeah, but now it's defined me. It's defines who I am, because now it's like this big thing, that the more love and nurture you give it, the more it'll give back. This is all I do for a living. So, at times you kind of don't want to do it that much because you're just kind of like not into it. But when you think about it, that's how that's how my personality is. It's okay to take breaks after doing it for so long, so, but that's kind of how I am with everything, with working out, with cooking. You tend to kind of like go so deep into something that after that you need some rest, and a lot of people will bug out and be like, oh, how do you get back into it, and how do you get rid of writer's block? And I'm like, I don't, I do it when my mind wants to do it. You can always, push yourself to do it and pick up the brush and just like stick it in the canvas, and you'll get stuff from it, but I've come to kind of like embrace breaks now, and especially during the pandemic, I was like, this is not a time for me to be creating. It's just very negative stuff that's coming out, which is also good to put on the canvas. Now I feel like, oh my God, the leaves are about to come out. Like my leaves are about to come out from this dry tree, in the winter, and I'm about to flourish, and I'm about to give my colors to the world,
Beautiful.
It's weird that I'm having this interview too, because I'm exactly at that moment right now, in this crossroads of where I was considering kind of like, stopping and doing something else, or getting a side job or something. But now I'm like, no, dude, like you're fine, we're all fine. We all just went through this cave moment where we had to hide, and you can see the light now. We can come out of the cave and come out of the underground and take our place back into the world,
Absolutely. So as you say that out loud, as you oscillate from the decision of maybe getting a job, should I say, of working for somebody else, as you say that out loud, and now you come to the spring and things are budding and blooming, do you feel that this is your calling? Because we know in the world that we live in, people can go through 3, 4, 5 different careers in their lifetime. But do you feel, having done that as a career for 15 years, 16 years, is this your calling?
It absolutely is. I live in America too, which is, you make money here, and it's embedded in us. It's not really the land for artists per se, as like Europe would be or something like that. So, when you say calling, like, yes, it definitely is my calling. But sometimes being an artist and being a successful artist here cannot be enough, when you want to purchase a home or something like that. But there's also so much happening in this country and Canada as well, in Europe, that it's all about your hustle. It's all about your push. It's all about how amazing you want to take it. You also need like an entrepreneur side to it all. You need to find a balance of all the creation, and then the other side, which is, making a profit from it. So I've also been really good at that. And that came from when I had a job, before I decided to go full-time artist. I was in the service industry, and it was all about talking to people and getting them to, upsell them on items and stuff like that, and restaurants. Those years of waiting tables, like, yeah, definitely helped my confidence when it comes to selling a big original or something. I have a lot of friends that are kind of terrified to make money, from their gifts. And I'm like, no, guys, like, it's totally okay. This is your power. This is your calling. Like, we're doing this full time. We're doing this for life. Take it all. Take it.
Yeah.
The something I've always said is the trophy's just sitting there on the table. It's just the trophy that says you're number one. Just go ahead and grab it and take it with you. There's nobody. You don't need to ask permission. You just have to be like, you got to be really good. That's the only thing. You have to be, and you got to devote years and decades and hundreds of paintings.
It's there for the taking, is what I'm hearing for you. It's there for the taking. It's up to you.
It's there for the taking.
On if you want to take it, because we all have a choice.
Yeah, it's just I feel like people just kind of like, waiting to get the go from someone to tell them, hey, you're ready, go get it,
Mhm.
um no, it's like you said, it's there for the taking, and that's all life, you know what I mean? It's so many people just never travel, they never, did they have all these dreams and they talk about what they wanted to do, and it's like, man, just go do it, go take it, just go do it all right now.
So, from that space, what do you feel are some of the bigger attributes that connect you with that purpose? There's an element of boldness, of trust. What are the other attributes that you have garnered in who you are to really step into this calling and this belief and this trust and this being of, I'm Della. Nice to meet you.
As an artist, there's many jobs that we provide, and I think, like, when it comes to me, just the reactions of people when they see my work. I get a lot of emails about, like, I like to ask people for their perception of what the painting means to them. But
Yes.
what drives me is it's kind of like this onslaught of love, and people saying what the painting means to them, or how it helped them. It's this constant flow of energy between me and people out there, because as artists, that's what we're always trying to do. I feel like it's just to show our stuff and say, hey, is this good enough,
Mm-hmm.
So when I was little, I remember making a drawing, and then my mom was like my critic, even though she wasn't my critic, but I always took her to her to be like, hey, look at this, I made this,
Yeah.
and I still feel like I'm doing that, at this time in my life. It's just kind of like this, am I good enough, or,
Mm.
but sometimes you make a piece where you're like, wow, this is amazing, this is great, this is better than what I thought it was going to turn out. And and you put that out, by social media, and you travel and you show it, kind of like a musician on the road.
So the energy back and forth, and an element of validation, if you will, that you seek, be it from the people who buy your paintings, the chatter on social media, or even the good job, Della, from your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Does it really fill your cup? And does it really come from a place of your
That's a
heart
good
that
one.
needs to be validated? Or does it come from a place of, I'm a businessman and I got to navigate that part of my world too?
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's going to take me a while, but some things definitely come to mind. It's kind of like acceptance, or rejection, which I saw as a young boy, when it came to like my father and things like that. So
Mm.
I've always had this kind of like I wasn't wanted,
Right.
kind of thing. So now you're trying to physically be wanted, or you're trying to physically be
Yeah.
validated, because yeah, it's something that's always been there, even with relationships. It's like the first sign I see of somebody like not giving me what I want, I'm like ready to
Mm.
dip out, and that's something I've been working on too. But when it comes to the art, it's there's the artist that will never know about, because he doesn't need to feel validated, and he's one of the greatest artists ever. But then there's a bunch of us that came from social media, and we sort of need this monster of energy that just consumes to
Mm.
get our stuff out there, But now there's the
Mm-hmm.
algorithm, so we're finding new ways. But now the festivals are back on, so that's like
Mm-hmm.
a new outlet. And as an artist, you kind of have to put yourself out there, because in 2 years you're gone. If you haven't
Right.
posted anything in 2 years, you're forgotten. It's also good to disappear. Because you think Picasso would have had his blue period if he had social media? He
Mm-hmm.
probably wouldn't.
Absolutely.
He would have
Absolutely.
just
Yeah.
he would have just kept painting Guernica over and over.
Yeah.
Um, so so
It's
there's
true.
there's that. It's like Salvador Dali. I look at Dali, as my
Mm.
main source of inspiration. He was doing jewelry, and he was doing holograms, and he was painting, and he was doing clothing, and he was acting, and he was, he had a lobster telephone, like
That's
all
right.
kinds of,
Yeah.
he never stopped, he understood that everything will get seen, everything will get known. Same thing with Picasso. He made 15,000, what is it, 1,500 works of art, and we only talk about like 20 of them.
Mm-hmm.
They knew, so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm trying to do now. I'm just trying to make as much as I can. I've been going back into just drawing. That's how I started. Just black
Right.
and white with black and white and pencil.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, yeah, I feel like I'm a whole new person since coming back from the tropics.
As you said earlier, we are now budding. Spring is here. Many people are now coming out from this 2-year period of introspection. Hopefully, it was introspection for many, of letting go and allowing what needs to be let go of. Allow that death to happen for that
Oh my
new
God.
to come. And I
Oh my
see that
goodness.
from what you're
Yeah.
saying, letting
Of
go of
people, letting go of people.
individuals.
Yeah,
Right.
letting go of people was huge. Everybody seems to be just cleaning their closet out, and just taking the skeletons and the secrets out, and it just, yeah, it's weird. Usually, I mean, on the war too, the Ukraine war, it's just kind of like
Yes.
everybody's like, no more of this. We're so much better. We're in a
Yeah.
great time right now. We just went through this dark time, but then that's, my conspiracy comes in, and we're like, well, we're just puppets. These guys are just going to keep us one thing
Yeah.
after the other. They're just going to keep us in the dark. They know how the psychology of humans work. But as artists, we're like, fuck no, like keep going, like this is the
Mm-hmm.
time now where you make the most art. And we as artists, I think we're the cheerleaders of humanity. We're like, go, go,
Yes.
go, like we got this. But we first got to make this very difficult task of making something so beautiful out of the dark times.
So, from that place, you talked about the past 2 years being a dark place, and a lot of people clearing out their closet, if you were, clearing out what no longer serves them. And while that might have been a safe place to do in these 2 years because everything was shut down, it was almost like this universal container that we all lived in. So now this container is open. Have you seen a shift in those relationships, be it the ones that you've garnered or be it the ones that you've dropped? Now people are going back, for many back and for many forward in their life. How has that influenced your work and your calling in what you do?
That's a great question. Well, I mean, I think we can all agree that the pandemic really showed the mental health all around us,
Mm-hmm.
especially in ourselves, and then after your family and your friends, and then society.
Right.
So I think that was once, it took you a year to be like, hey, I'm okay with this thing happening, this pandemic happening, and I kind of had this like, who cares? We're not in control. And people were like, how could you not care? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I do care, but I can't control it. So I'm not going to freak out about it. But then really close friends of mine were completely just freaking out about it because they couldn't control it.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't want to surrender to it. And that's when I started to see the conversations that we were having. It would just go like, it would go over here very fast. It would go dark very fast. That's when I was like, okay, it's time to clean the closet. It's like, I don't need these people in my life because it's getting just very negative. That's something that they're going through. And maybe someday in the future, we can come back and rekindle our relationship. But if not, it's totally okay because I can't control this. So
Right.
I have a couple of paintings called Surrender, and they were made like 5 years ago. And I still go back to that. And I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I put this message out because now I can
Mm.
preach it. I haven't seen many people going back to the people that they rejected. You know what I mean? And it's good. You know, it's good. Little by little, some friends have, you know, have decided to come back and be like, hey, I was in a dark place, you know, and we're all going to be going through it for years to come. Meaning, even if the world opens, we're still kind of like coming out of jail, you know, we're
Mm-hmm.
still kind of like relearning society,
Mm-hmm.
integrating ourselves back into society. So,
Surely the outset out of this lockdown of 2 years has influenced how you're going to navigate life outside of it based on how you looked at what the last 2 years was. Was it a painful experience, or was it a beautiful opportunity for you to uncover and heal wounds that weren't as visible before all of this stuff happened in 2020?
yeah, I think crawling out is has definitely changed my view, because I think we were all kind of like, by saying locked in, we were kind of like hopeful, but also losing hope. You know, whenever like a new variant was introduced or something, it was like,
Right.
oh my god, it's time to go back in. It was this back and forth, like how much can we take of it, you know? And you mentioned healing wounds. I think that was the wound. You know, it's kind of like your loss of hope. I mean, you could be happy, but also you're kind of like using vices to kind of
Soothe.
deal with the dark, yeah, to soothe the darkness, you know. And I think we're all wounded right now, you know, but we're healing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's it. You know, it's kind of like the loss of hope. I think it was the biggest like psychological effect on people, was that you break. You know, it's like the one thing you can do to a human is put, you know, six walls,
Isolation.
isolation, and that breaks their spirit so quickly. You know, that's how you break birds and animals. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I felt like it was designed for us to kind of be like, let's test this on humans, let's see how much they can take, you know.
Yeah.
And when it's over, we'll just give them a war, you know, and keep them losing hope for peace in the world, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I feel it's all fabricated,
I
just like the
completely
virus.
agree. I completely agree, but that might be a different kind of conversation that we can have maybe at a later date.
I know this. I just haven't been asked questions, so everything's going like pandemic or war for me, you know.
So I want to switch up the dynamic a little bit and talk to you about this energy transference that happens between you as an artist and people who are interested and people who like your art, be it pieces that they had purchased in the past or you gaining traction through this 2 year lull period that has shown up in the world, not necessarily in your art. How have you been able to cultivate the energy that you receive from them to use it to fuel your calling and your gifts?
I've always seen art or a canvas as like this weapon, right? That you use instead of a gun. The front of it is like the barrel, you know, and you shoot it. People take it in, you know, they take the bullets, you know, through their mind, through their eyes, and through their brain, and a story plays in their head, you know. And then if they have the chance, they come back to you and give you that energy back, with praise or with admiration for your techniques and stuff like that. So it's like this constant flow that keeps
Mm-hmm.
happening, going back to the childlike soul child.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I ever wanted, you know. It's like this, hey, I put it out, you give back to me. I put it out, you give back to me. It's like
Mm-hmm.
this tennis ball game. So I think it's kept me alive, you know. The constant, you know, even though I don't agree with social media and algorithms, I feel like the constant, is it ebb and flow? It's just the
Mm-hmm.
constant
Yeah.
giving and receiving, you know. It's kept me going. And I also had a collector kind of like just really kind of take care of me for making him these commission paintings. That also really helped, because who knows, you know, who knows what happened to other artists, you know, who knows
Right.
if they kept it up, or if that energy exchange was there for them, like, you know, who knows. But yeah, I like your question, but I can't seem to not talk about the past 2 years, because that's
Of
been my
course.
whole life. It feels like everything that happened before those 2 years was a different world. It was like a
Right.
different dimension that it's over. It's like
Yes,
we're not going back to that. It's a whole new like landscape
it
now.
is.
So I
Absolutely.
feel like this shedding of skin, it's like my new self now, but I have to talk about where that came from, because
Of
because
course.
I think we were just too comfortable before, and maybe things did need to hit a break. Maybe nature did hit the brakes. Look at all the beautiful things that happened from being with our families and being close to our friends and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Or at least being with yourself to see what the beauty lies within you.
I'm kind of like a baby right now. I feel like I'm a baby. I'm like ready to come out into the world again as this Della 2.0 version of myself, and
Nice.
I feel like everything's new, so I don't have a lot of knowledge right now. I don't have a lot of experience. I can only talk about the old life, the old world. It's a very exciting time.
Even though you say you're very new in this part of your life, in this new birthing process, what does that look like for you? Is there an element of anticipation, a direction, or a desire that you want to go into? Where do you go from here?
I have a painting called Almost There, and it's one of my first paintings. I think I made it in 2003, and it's this little mannequin. The art mannequin. This guy.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and he's standing he's on a boat in the water, and he's painting this painting, and it was one of my best paintings back then. And this artist that I really looked up to was like, that's your best painting, And when he said that, it kind of gave me this vibe. I was like, wow, I'm like, I could do this, I could do this for a living. And it was called Almost There because that's how I felt. I was like, wow, I'm almost there as an artist. Recently, I found out that one of my ex-girlfriends wanted that painting when we broke up, and she's like, I was there when you made this. I want this painting. And I was like, okay, you can have it. And then she ended up moving from San Francisco out of state. And I was like, hey, where is this painting? Because somebody's asking me if I could sell it to them. So I was gonna buy it from her. And she's like, oh, I left it back in San Francisco. And I was like, why? You wanted this painting? And so I tried looking for this painting, and I just found out yesterday that the painting is gone. And it was one of my most cherished paintings. And I'm like, I was so mad at first, but I was like, you know what? This is a huge point in my life that painting is gone, and that maybe I deserve that she just didn't care for it when she moved, or something going on there. But it was a very, very personal painting. But now I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make a second piece of that painting. And it's going to be a continuation. So I started thinking of how to portray this puppet, this mannequin again, but like coming out of the pandemic, or coming out of the cave, or coming out of the dark, or coming out of the fog, or coming out of the rain, or the storm, or the hurricane. And my brain just like started going ape shit with ideas. It's like this beginning of outflow of things that I've been holding on to. That's one, and I see him like, with on the boat with like a little stick in his hand, and he's got a hoodie on. It's all like broken up, and it's like a cape, Yeah, I'm very excited, and I want to tell that story of losing that painting. Maybe even somebody stole it. I don't know. I could complain to her, and be like, "Where is this painting?" But it's like, no, just let it go, man. Let it go.
We know that everything happens for a reason. We kind of touched on this a little bit before in the middle of with a couple of other questions in terms of the pandemic and the opportunities it can present. So as you talk about an element of 2.0 Della, maybe the painting that was so instrumental in you becoming who you were then, now is the opportunity for you to rebirth yourself. From that perspective.
Yeah. There's so many visuals that come to mind when you say that, it's just like, I think that's my gift. It's not really painting, it's visualizing things,
Yeah.
But yeah, birthing, that's another one. That's a cave. That's coming out of the portal, coming out of the cave. So that's it. You're gonna see that painting and you're gonna be like, I helped him make that painting. You're gonna see.
It's a birthing for everybody. It's a birthing for the planet. Tapping into some of the spiritual aspects of it. We are designed to die and come back again into a new. Mm-hmm. Like you referenced earlier, the snake, the trees, the flowers, human beings. We die and we come back, or not.
Yeah, better get busy and create all those works, you know?
It's the cycle of life, but I think your true gift is to be able to translate that in such beautiful pieces of art that come with so much movement and so much emotion. That is the gift. The visual piece, absolutely, but the translation from that is what you share with the world. And I think from my perspective, that is a beautiful thing that you offer and you share. So thank you. So you're going to do this piece of a rebirthing and see what it is that needs to come out after this incubation period.
Yes. I'm also working on a DMT inspired piece. And I got a couple of commissions, but yeah, as long as I jot it down in my sketchbook, it'll get done, you know. I'm also painting really fast with acrylics right now. So it's nice to plan your paintings, you know, one after the other. And I like to not interfere with one or the other, but finish one and then move on, you know.
Right.
Because you get all these ideas every time you're inspired working on one, that it's easy to just go into something else. But I also keep these little canvases like around to kind of keep the juices flowing, you know, and because you shouldn't neglect like inspiration, you know. You should always
absolutely
put it down or paint it or something.
Absolutely. Well, Della, thank you so much. I have no doubt that you will create all these pieces that we've talked about and some. Thank you for sharing your stories, your wisdom, and your energy during this time. So thank you.
Thank you so much for reaching out. I think you're doing a great job showing the light in you, but also the light in others and how to make the world better through their crafts. So thank you for having me.
Beautiful. Thank you. I'm Naranjan, and you've been listening to Master of Your Crafts podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and join me next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.